Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today we're going to be discussing the trailer, or I should more say the teaser trailer, for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And look, if you want to know what I thought of the first film, I thought it was really bad. I like the Five Nights at Freddy's games. I think there's a lot of cool creativity in them, like, especially with like Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. That's like genuinely one of the most clever VR games I've seen in a while. Yet despite all that, I just could not get into the first film. I knew from the moment like there was all of these production issues and Scott Cawthon wanting complete control over the project, and so like directors like Chris Columbus were brought aboard and then weren't suddenly not involved in the film anymore. I always kind of found that to be like a red flag because Scott Cawthon's never made a film before. He's made a few indie games, which is impressive in its own right. Independent games and filmmaking are two very different things. I got what I expected. I thought it was very cheaply made. I mean, or at the very least, like, yeah, it had like somewhat of a budget behind it, $20 million, but you know, as we've seen, we've had movies that have had way less budget than this film, and they look way better, like The Brutalist. Like, it's about making the most out of your budget, and it's clear that the people involved had no real experience in filmmaking or even writing, because the movie doesn't even really give you like a mystery. It kind of just spills all it out for you, and it's like, well, what was the point in that then? It's like, if you're gonna lay out this, it's not even like a mystery that the audience has to kind of figure out along the way. It's like, no, all the lore is just like, it's just kind of out there now. There's like no mystery. There's nothing really to glean into. It's just like, oh, okay. I guess my point about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is that the film just kind of spoon feeds you all the information instead of allowing the viewer to figure out things themselves. And I feel like that's kind of a disservice to your audience, especially when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's audiences. It's because it's like they've grown accustomed to figuring out things themselves. Why do they need to be coddled by the plot? Like, they can figure stuff out. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be so vague to where you must watch a game theory video in order to understand the film, but like, it doesn't all have to be laid out in plain view, just fully explained. And that's not to mention that I feel like the film did not really know how to show these animatronics in a very intimidating setting, because in the games, they were really kind of obscured in darkness. Sometimes you wouldn't know if they moved, or if they did move, like how far did they move. The movie just kind of just shot them like very blankly, just, all right, here they are, it's the animatronic. There's nothing really clever about the way it's filmed, and even when they move, it looks very clunky, which they're not moving as if like they're alive. You know, a great example of Five Nights at Freddy's characters moving as if they are alive, I would say, is The Joy of Creation. Probably one of the best, if not the best, Five Nights at Freddy's game out there. They move like robots, but they also move alive. Like, there's something very uncanny about the way they move. And also, they feel very heavy. Like, when Freddy's walking around, it's like he feels like there's a lot of weight on him, considering, well, he's robot. Here in the movie, it was just like, it didn't really feel like they weighed anything, even though I'm pretty sure in real life they did. And lastly, another problem I had with the animatronics themselves was that they emoted. They had like, you know, squinting eyes, and their eyes would glow red, but that's not what made Five Nights at Freddy's scary. What they made Five Nights at Freddy's so scary is that they did not really have any expressions at all. And again, when you shoot them from a certain angle, they can look absolutely terrifying. But by trying to give them personality by giving them these like little facial expressions that make them look mean and evil and stuff, it doesn't really come across as scary. It just looks very silly. And I know people are gonna try to say, well, it's a kid's movie. I'm like, Five Nights at Freddy's is not for kids. Like, no. I know it's marketed at kids sometimes, and I feel like that's very strange, especially when you know the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, but believe me, this should not be a kid's franchise. I've gone on and on about Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but so how does this one look? Well, to be fair, we don't really know the plot of this one. I know game theory has kind of suggested that maybe Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is like a combination of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the game, and Five Nights at Freddy's 3, the game, which would be an interesting angle to take. But again, we'll have to see how everything goes. But Look, if I'm gonna be completely honest, this doesn't really look much better. We're running into some of the same problems that the first film had, which is, like I said before, shooting the animatronics straight on. It's not scary, it doesn't look scary. Why do they keep doing this? Why are they so afraid of keeping these things shrouded in mystery? A great example of this last year was Nosferatu. Nosferatu, for like the longest time of its runtime, kept Count Orlok hidden in the shadows, so much so to where you wouldn't even see his face. All you would hear is his voice and see like the silhouette of his body. Like, that was so creepy because it left so much to your imagination. And it wasn't until the end of the film to where you actually started to see what he fully looked like. And, well, at least then he still looked like a very imposing, creepy figure. But this doesn't look scary at all. It, again, because of the way it's shot, it doesn't look scary. It just looks like, oh, I guess there's like a robot bear in the middle of this carnival. I don't want to keep dogging on these movies, because I want to see a good Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I like quite a bit of the games. And in the best cases, Five Nights at Freddy's can be one of the scariest video games out there. But, however, I have to call it as I see it. This still doesn't look right. This still looks like they're making the same mistakes that the first film did. But, I mean, I guess because Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, made nearly $300 million at the box office on a budget of $20 million, they now don't really feel the need to fix any mistakes. And again, I'm hoping it's better. I'm hoping, but I just don't have a lot of faith in it. But again, this is just a 40-second teaser, and we still don't really know what the plot is. Now, I'm gonna pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on the teaser trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and be sure you hit that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're gonna be stuffed into an animatronic.